Imagine a country sitting on billions of dollars of black gold and massive stretches of fertile farmland, enough to feed half a continent. It also has one of the youngest populations in the world, with millions of people ready to work and grow. By every measure, this country should be thriving. It should be one of the fastest growing countries in Africa, but it's not. It's not. I'm talking about South Sudan, a country that once had the potential to become the next Dubai or Singapore of Africa. Instead, today it's the poorest country in the world, with a GDP per person of just $455. We're talking about a country where more than 92% of people live below the national poverty line, and 7.7 million are facing acute hunger. That's almost the entire country just trying to survive. So how does this happen? How does a country with this much natural wealth end up at the very bottom of the global economy? This isn't just bad luck. It's a terrifying perfect storm of these 5 overlapping crises. And today, we're breaking down exactly why South Sudan is facing this economic catastrophe. Reason number 1 is civil war and displacement. To understand the poverty, you have to understand the history first. South Sudan is the youngest country in the world. It only became independent in 2011, and at that time, there was massive hope for peace, stability, and economic growth. But by 2013, political rivalries at the top level had erupted into a brutal civil war that devastated the new nation. The human cost was staggering. Nearly 2.32 million people fled to other countries, and 2.2 million were displaced inside their own borders. And this is where poverty really set in. Around 80% of South Sudanese people depended on agriculture to survive. They were farmers and herders. But when there was active fighting, you can't plant seeds. You can't harvest crops without risking your life. When people fled to survive, they left their farms behind. The agricultural economy collapsed. South Sudan had the land to feed itself, but it was simply too dangerous to use. Reason number 2 is the oil trap. South Sudan doesn't have a diversified economy. They don't make cars. They don't have big tech companies. And they don't even have tourism. They have oil. For years, about 90 to 98% of the government's entire income came from selling crude oil. That sounds great, until something goes wrong with that one product. And this is where the massive geographic flaw comes in. South Sudan is landlocked, completely surrounded by other countries. It has zero access to the ocean. That means to sell its oil to the world, it has to pump it through a single massive pipeline that runs entirely through its northern neighbor, Sudan. It's like your only way to get to work is through your neighbor's driveway, and you absolutely hate each other. Jokes aside, in 2024 and into 2025, Sudan's civil war damaged that pipeline. Oil production collapsed, falling from about 160,000 barrels a day to just 60,000. That's a 62% drop. Overnight, the country lost most of its paycheck, and the government went broke instantly. Reason number 3 is hyperinflation, when money becomes worthless. This problem goes back to reason number 2. When South Sudan's oil revenue stopped flowing, the government lost access to foreign currency, especially US dollars. And without dollars to back its own currency, the South Sudanese pound, the system began to break down. As a result, the currency collapsed. In 2024, the South Sudanese pound lost roughly 300 to 400% of its value against the US dollar. The exchange rate fell from about 1,100 pounds per dollar to over 5,000 pounds per dollar. That's not an abstract economic statistic. It has real consequences. Imagine you're an 18-year-old living in Juba, the capital city. South Sudan is not producing enough food on its own. Because of years of conflict and displacement, farming has largely stopped. So the country imports most of its food, and imports must be paid for in US dollars. When your local currency is rapidly losing value, every imported item becomes more expensive overnight. This is how hyperinflation takes hold. Food prices don't rise slowly, they explode. Inflation in South Sudan has recently exceeded 100%, meaning prices are doubling in a short period of time. Imagine going to McDonald's, and a Big Mac cost $5 yesterday, $15 today, $30 next week. Your income hasn't changed. Your savings haven't changed. Only the prices have. This is the reality for millions of people. When money becomes worthless, wages can't keep up, savings disappear, and basic food becomes unaffordable. For many families in South Sudan, even one simple meal a day is no longer guaranteed. Reason number 4. Severe lack of infrastructure. South Sudan is roughly the size of France or Texas, but only about 2% of its roads are paved. During the rainy season, dirt roads turn into mud pits that are completely impassable. A farmer might grow vegetables, or a herder might have milk to sell, but it all rots or spoils before it ever reaches a city market. No roads means no trade. No trade means no economy. And no economy means no development. Electricity is even worse. Only about 5% of households have access to power. Without reliable electricity, you can't run factories. You can't store food in refrigerators. Hospitals struggle to function. This isn't bad planning. This is the absence of basic infrastructure. Without roads to move goods or electricity to run businesses, South Sudan stays trapped in survival mode, no matter how much oil, farmland, or young workers it has. Now you might be wondering something obvious. South Sudan sold billions of dollars worth of oil for more than a decade, long before the pipeline crisis. So where did all that money go? Here comes the reason number 5. Corruption. South Sudan ranks among the world's most corrupt countries on global indexes. Since independence in 2011, UN reports and watchdog groups estimate that roughly $25 billion in oil revenue has been diverted. That's the polite word. In reality, it was stolen, laundered offshore, or spent on personal assets and luxury villas for political elites. Oil revenue, which makes up 90 to 98% of the national budget, often flows through off-book channels, bypassing the finance ministry and central bank oversight. Major global oil traders like Glencore and Vitol eventually walked away, citing unmanageable risk. That money was enough to build roads, power plants, and schools for the entire country. Instead, it enriched a tiny few. Officials siphoned funds through ghost contracts, fake companies, and direct theft from state oil accounts. The average citizen sees none of it. When leaders prioritize personal wealth over national development, no amount of natural resources can save a country. This betrayal turned potential prosperity into the poverty you see today. Now, when you put all these 5 points together, you see the perfect trap. Civil war destroyed people's ability to farm. The oil pipeline shut down, wiping out 98% of government revenue. Hyperinflation turned money worthless. No infrastructure leads to a dead economy, and corruption stole the billions that should have built the nation. South Sudan's leaders have failed catastrophically. Right now, 7.7 million people face acute hunger. But understanding this vicious cycle is the first step to breaking it. What needs to happen first? Peace, new leadership, or international pressure? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this breakdown helped you understand global poverty better, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And subscribe for more deep dives into the global economy and business. Thanks for watching.